a little bit of extra contemplation here. Going into map number 1, Villa, Team 1's map pick. We haven't seen Empire play Villa so far through the Six Invitational. Team 1 did play it one time. They beat Cloud9 there, and it was a big win for them. Now, I think at least here in map number 1 that it's still going to be a difficult fight for Team 1 to take this one, despite the fact that we haven't even seen Empire play here.
No, absolutely. Empire is a team that likes to hide maps, and if you remember all the way back in the Pro League days when Empire made their debut, they were allergic to playing on this map. So we'll see exactly what they can do, but the operator bans are going to come out right now. It looks like Thatcher and Maverick on attack. I want to say not surprising because they tend to dominate the bans when you see attackers go, but I mean, there is flexibility, obviously. We've seen Zero bans, Nomad bans, we've seen Hibana bans, Ace bans, etc. Right. So Thatcher and Maverick, though, are interesting because we don't see a ton of Maverick on Villa anymore.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, well, I don't even know that we ever did. I mean, there may be some few times here and there where Maverick gets played here. And the reason, to explain for those who don't know, why Maverick doesn't get played often on Villa is very simple. When you're trying to hard breach a wall on Villa, generally you want to use ranged hard breach, so Hibana or Ace. Thermites is an option because he's fast, but Maverick is genuinely rough on everything you would want to open with him on this map, because you're gonna have to be on the wall for a long time, which leaves you very vulnerable to C4s from below. And given that that's like the case on every wall, either below or above, you could be pressured. Maverick just doesn't get played. But banning a Maverick into a Thatcher ban means that it's hard to open any wall, regardless of what you prefer in your hard breach.
Well, first lineups are locked in as we now do battle. For those that can see at the top, you know, it's funny. I just want to take some time to discuss this before we get into the cut and thrust of the matchup. My mother, ever a supportive woman and Tarot Mom, has been watching the broadcasts recently because she likes a variety of the players that are competing. I mean, hey, SI is an occasion for the entire family. She complimented the team for the UI at the top of the screen. So I don't know who's responsible for it. I don't know if this is an ESL thing. I don't know if this is a Ubisoft thing, but whoever designed the UI at the top, the banner that shows off the maps, the team logos, etc., you get the Intero Mom seal of approval. Great job for that. But the reason why I mentioned that, by the way, is because we got Villa up. Next up is Clubhouse, and then Oregon will be the decider. All of that information conveniently put up there. And as I've heard other casters explain, those two small folds that almost look like slashes next to the Six Invitational logo dead center of your screen, those denote which maps have been won. So after the first matchup, you'll see one of them will turn red. I know people ask, who won map 1? There's your answer. You'll find out. Unless you're colorblind.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess
and then you're doomed.
You still be able to tell like a slight difference, right? It's just, it wouldn't be red, right? You'd have to be red colorblind. Anyway, so this is a master overclear for Team 1 on an Aviator Games defense for Team Empire. So far, no roamers on the top floor on the master side, so it should be pretty free real estate for Team 1. They just have to step their foot in there and stop wasting time. But they're trying to be thorough and droning out every nook and cranny before they go for the push. I think also a split. I like that they're going for a split push here, 2 on the study side. That means it's harder for Empire to rotate around freely.
Taking different sides to get the map control that you want. This is a very common setup that we see with the wall leading into the back bar in games blown open, deployable shield right next to them that joystick can play off of. You can see on the top right-hand side of your screen the drone count on the left-hand side. Empire's got 3 reinforcements left, so when the going gets tough, joystick can fall off if that deployable shield goes, and he can reinforce the wall that you see directly to the right of his shoulder that he just went through. It's a good thing he took that position because KDS can just use his Ash gadget and blow up the shield, and joystick wouldn't have been any the wiser, providing there wasn't an ADS to stop it.
Still very slow attack for Team 1. We're coming down to the last minute here for the attackers. And what have they really got to show for it? Study pressure, no control, and full control on the master side, but no roamer picks or anything of the sort. Ooh, this is big. Alamau going to get one of the evil eyes. That'll open things up in the site, making the plant, when it happens, that much easier. Well, if it happens, I suppose. Great use of the Twitch drone here from Alamau, and he's going to continue that by just opening up more more things. Getting rid of that mute jammer means that Lagonis, if he were by study, would be able to open the wall. He's not, so he won't be able to. But, you know, if he goes over there later, maybe he will.
Well, unfortunately for them, there's still a mute jammer in place. Never cheeky. It'll prevent the X-Kairos from going off onto the vault wall as Levy just wriggles on in. Okay, he's getting the case down. Scyther will try to peek this one.
What?
Bad play from Team 1. As a Nitro Cell goes off, 2 guns from Empire find their targets. Alamo now has the case. Empire managed to swing back on it. And now amidst all the smoke, whether it be the defensive smoke or the attacker smoke, it's Team 1 filling that doorway full of bullets, but not hitting a single target. Alamo getting the kill first. He's chased off by the toxic canister and now felled by it as well, leaving KDS in a 1v4. Empire look almost certain to be able to hang on to this. Timer running down and KDS finds a pick, but it's just stat padding at this point because he knows that the task ahead of him is impossible. Clock strikes 0. He stays alive, but that doesn't matter because the round goes to Empire.
Oh, that's weird, Parker. I almost felt like I was watching a North American team with how slow that attack was from Team 1. They got the control by Master, but it took way too much time. They were thorough in their droning, so at least there's that. You know, they're trying to be safe, and that's always the devil. It's playing the angle of the attackers, trying to give credit to Team 1 here. And this is always the case when it comes to slow attack rounds. Is they are trying to be thorough. They're trying not to skip a corner and make a mistake. But I'm telling you, there are faster ways to do it. You can definitely get your pre-place in position to do that a little bit quicker earlier in the round. And because Team 1 took so much time to clear out on the Master side, when they went for the fake out plant behind the vault wall, or vault door, I should say, it honestly was not the right call. The timing was off, and then they were never able to recover after they went for that first plant attempt. It's a little bit odd how they did it too with the smokes, because the smokes were completely mistimed, and they actually ended up punishing Team 1, because after Empire punished them for the first time when they pushed in, the smokes went up, and then Team 1 had no refrag capabilities. Why? They smoked themselves off.
10 seconds.
That play with Levy was also very perplexing. I like the army crawl, by the way.
5 seconds.
Very reminiscent of him playing or competing in Tough Mudder as he tries to get into the site, but Scyther is unchallenged when he swings from the vault door. There's nobody in study to watch that cross angle. They're wary of a Nitro Cell going off, which, by the way, would have connected if Levy hadn't been punished by Scyther in the first place. Not a very fundamentally sound execute from Team 1. This is their map. You can see it on the screen at the top, by the way. So if you have any questions throughout it as to whether or not Team 1 were prepared for Villa, the answer is a resounding yes. They picked it. They should be the team to prevail here. And with how little we've seen of Empire play it, they absolutely should have the upper hand. First round, obviously, is just a small snapshot. So there's still plenty of time for them to be able to turn this one around. But if they have more rounds like what we saw out of round number 1, then Team 1 will very quickly find themselves in even worse trouble than they are right now.
So you might look at the attacking team right now and think to yourself, well, they've got no hard destruction. That's interesting. But they have actually brought 1 can opener on Lagonis, and that will help them in opening up any wall that they decide they want to. It's not going to be a very big hole, but it's better than nothing. Joystick, first casualty for this round. Down he goes to KDS, who has 2 kills over these 2 rounds, but he's rendered low. 25 HP means he's unlikely to win another gunfight, but who knows? We'll see if he can. Alamau coming down from long haul. He'll see Dan and catch him not looking. Always is able to get the re, and he'll position to top red, but what a shot! Alamau, his second in the round, and Team 1 maintain their advantage.
Anybody who plays on Twitch knows that they have consistently toyed with the recoil on that F2 to make it a little bit tougher to deal with, but if there's going to be anybody on Team 1 that can control it, it's Ali Mao. He enters as one of the best performers on this team, and indeed one of the best performers in the entire event. He's been a huge bright spot for a very young squad that has continued to just climb the ranks now. And they've got a lot of competition on their hands, as there's a lot of depth from Empire too. For this round, though, the execute for Team 1 has looked much sharper, and they find themselves in a 4v2 with a minute to go in round number 2.
The big difference here, Parker, is that there were actually roamers far off the site on the opposite side of the building. Last time, Team 1 cleared out all the way on Master, no roamers for Team Empire, and so all that time was effectively wasted, and Team 1 were really slow on that clear. This time, Team Empire tried to full commit to the roam, 3 of them, in fact, and every single one of them dies. All Team 1 loses for it is Neskin. That's a good roam clear.
Thing with Empire, though, now, as it seems that we are calm and have been for 30 seconds, is that Shepard and Scyther have clutched many rounds out just with the two of them working in tandem before. KDS on low HP, he takes out Shepard. That was the secret weapon, so Scyther will have to do it all. Down falls a single member of Team 1. Plant going down by Levy. They'll need to cover exactly where Scyther's going to go. Looks over towards Astronomy. He hears the window break, but he's not really too interested in that. Capitao to his left, Lion to his right. He looks, but he's a little bit too slow. Behind the ball! Levy's manages to punish him, and Team 1 will answer back after the defeat on the first round to equalize at 1 apiece.
Big round there from Team 1, much more succinct. And again, I really love the fact that they were able to actually punish Empire for that roam. They saw the targets and they clamped down as a team. Excellent coordination on Team 1's side. Team Empire tried twice to bring themselves back in that round after losing the initial pick, and they failed. Now, with Team 1 bringing it to even round count, this is certainly looking like it's going to be a bit more of a match than some might expect. And, you know, we've seen that sort of thing before through this entire SI. I think that the biggest takeaway from this Six Invitational for me so far has been that you cannot predict these matches. You really can't. There is no favored team, no matter who you're watching, and anything can happen. Right now, this is looking like two very even teams, and that has got me excited for the long run, Parker.
Absolutely. If we don't go to Oregon, I'll be a bit disappointed. You and I have usually had the good fortune of getting competitive matches, but with it being best of ones and there being an unpredictability with these international events not happening over 14 months, we've often had to deal with teams that just underperform, and it's been unfortunate for you and I because I have looked on with great envy at our colleagues who have had an opportunity to cast extraordinarily good matchups. This is also going to be our last match that we're casting together for Six Invitational, so if it's not good, I will publicly probably send a mean tweet, and that's about it. I don't really think I can do much else than that.
We'll write a very angry letter and send
strongly
it...
worded, dare I say.
Strongly worded, yes.
Not too strong,
speak to the managers.
Not too strong. I'm getting to the point where my haircut actually kind of looks like I need to speak to your manager haircut, but we're not quite there. We're not quite at that point just yet. I hope at some point the stylists and barbershops will open up here, but until then, I just continue to grow and grow, as these teams have, by the way, throughout the event, as we now pivot back in. Round number 3, 30 seconds off the board, and Dan is tempting fate by watching the main doorway as Vigil. He'll be concealed by these drones going in. He can hear them, and he saw one for a brief second. Now worried about getting pushed from the other side of the map, but he'll hold on stairs regardless. I don't know if they've spotted him just yet. Unfortunately vaulted in, and he gets hit by a frost mat. It's the rescue.
I'd always... Parker, we've seen... I'm going to have to talk to Spencer about getting us the stat for how many frost mats have been triggered at the Six Invitational. I hope he has. I don't know if he does, but it's been so many. I mean, it's not even... It's not even rare anymore. It's like commonplace. If a frost is being brought for either like 2 or 3 rounds, at least one mat will be triggered. That's how it feels lately. And at this level, you know, you laugh about it, but at the same time, it makes sense. Hey, they got that one. That's worth something. Team 1 are still down 75 HP on Neskin, but you know, at least they're still in this battle.
Ash with the Claymore is not something I am still accustomed to seeing, but here we are. Dan getting pings. I don't know how much he knows, but he very narrowly misses out on not one, but 2 players from Team 1 as he tries to exhibit some influence. The execute's coming out very early. We're only at the halfway point of this round, but the guns from Team 1, well, they're hitting their marks. Until Dan comes on to flank, he doesn't know somebody's to his right. KDS is there, they double swing, and 1 kill for Empire. He gets traded away, always with one of his own, and he's gonna need to clutch out in a 1v4. Pistol in hand, great shots! But unfortunately, only good enough for 1. Team 1 just bleed them down, and the second round will go in their favor as they take the lead.
Okay, strategically, I absolutely love what we just saw from Team 1. You'll notice that they didn't overextend themselves on their roam clear. They weren't clearing out for their strategy what would be superfluous area. They focused intently on the specific intent. Well, that sounds weird, but they focused on what they were trying to accomplish. And that was a kitchen pincer execute. They came in from Red Hall and they came in from Pantry. That's it. That's their focus. It worked out fantastically because everyone from Team 1 was committed to it. And you love to see stuff like that. That level of dedication from your team to execute in unison. And the fact that Empire wasn't able to punish that either, that's key. Imagine those holes above for the Vigil. were there before he knew he needed to use them. How different that round could have been. Imagine a defender was playing inside a pantry. How different that round could have been. But no, Team One get all the contact points they want on the site, and then they execute with perfect unison. It's smooth as butter as soon as they get into the site.
10 seconds to insert.
So now the rotation will continue, this time starting anew, Michael. We'll go back to Aviator and Games as Dan lurks downstairs. Obviously, you're accustomed to seeing both Joystick and Dan play aggressively off-site. The very first crack at this defense on this site rather, in round number 1, Joystick wasn't really playing that far off-site. He was playing on the elbow position, if you want to call it that, at the top of the stairs, which is where he is right now as he marches his way towards 90. And he'll shoot the window just to give himself some audio as well. Fun fact, if you're not exactly the most experienced, if you shoot a couple bullet holes in the windows, or whatever barricade it is, you can hear better on the other side. I know that that sounds silly, but even a couple shots will do the trick. Dan gets spotted out on main stairs as he takes down the oNe clone. This is the same position he was playing in his Vigil in the previous round, and, well, he was able to live until the execute from Team 1 happened. Will he be as lucky this time?
So far, he's been using his utility to great effect. Able to get good information thanks to that clone, and I think he just used his Gone 6-2. Not exactly sure what on. Probably a shield on the Aviator door. I think that's what it was. Maybe. Could have been an Evil Eye, too. We'll find out when we get further into the round, probably. What we also know is that Team 1 need to clear out top main stairs. That's where Joystick happens to be playing right now. Not an easy position to hold. He's holding it with Dan, but as the shield goes down, this position is made ever more tenuous for the defenders.
Drone's ready.
Well, the same spread that you'd noted before with Team 1 in regards to how they wanted to tackle this site. And, well, we're going to see something that's a little bit different. First and foremost, it's an EE-1D that gets burned out. The Lion died before using a single charge in the initial execute that Team 1 took on this site back in round number 1. So at least you get some of your utility off. If Levy dies, that's fine. At least he did something more than in the previous round. Baby steps for Team 1 can be enough to close the gap between you and Empire. Now it's KDS lurking over by 90. Position, expecting somebody to push from that direction. Lagonis' attention is over towards Study instead of Vault like before. And Neskin is in a similar position too. As a grenade goes out, it'll do some damage to Joystick, but do they know where his position is? They might not expect that. Just a single point damage done to Scyther as he's tagged by the Twitch drone, and now Levy is going to try to flash his way in. Smoke canister will stop him for now. They think better of it. 40 seconds remaining. Hunker down in sight. Empire will need to hang on. Nobody is dead just yet. KDS, almost the first one to fall as he's engaged with the fight in Joystick, just back down by main stairs. All these openings by the X-Kairos will allow Scyther a clear line of sight to his targets as the toxic canisters block out entry. Joystick down below. He can make some noise. At some point, Team 1 are going to need to push in because they are losing time. Dan takes out the very first member of Team 1, Levy refrags. A slow from the Banshee on model as Alimo now watches, and Team 1 will barrel into the site by B, watching his diffuser goes down. No! The Nitro cell from always connects, and Joystick gets one, with Dan bookending the round, and Empire ties it up 2-2.
Big round there from Empire. That C4 really sealed the deal. And now, Team 1... every time they go for that Aviator execute, they seem to slow down when they get into the plant position. That's been their problem consistently now. It's something they're going to need to correct moving forward, or they're going to have no chance every time it goes to Aviator. Team 1 can also bring out a different strategy. They don't have to full commit to this split strat that they're bringing both times. I mean, to be fair to Team 1, they did bring the same side execution strat, but the actual clear strat was much more efficient. They were more focused on the Study side. The rotation over to the Master side was late in the round because they knew Master would be clear. And that almost saved them in the end, but they didn't get top man control. They didn't clear out the roamers downstairs. And when they were going for that plant, they didn't look in control of the utility. Empire in the driver's seat throughout. Well played to them locking out that round when it came to the site execution, and the bunker strategy worked.
Well, here's the thing for Empire. You've gone through 4 rounds now, and the only saving grace of your defense on Villa has been the same bomb site. You've struggled on the other 2 that you've gone to. Living room and library is still an option for Team Empire if they don't want to break the cycle that they've done so far. After that aviator and games defense, which has been successful twice, they lost on kitchen and they lost on trophy statuary. They're going to go back to trophy statuary for round number 5. This is their second crack at it. And Team 1 looked much sharper. They still did what they've tried to do on both aviator games attacks, which is they've tried to isolate players and push from different directions. The difference was that Empire's roams were a little bit deeper and a little bit less connected when they defended trophy statuary last time, not playing anywhere near as close to sight and not working off of each other anywhere near as effectively as we saw in aviator games. If Team 1 can get an early pick, isolate the players, and then push the site in a 3v5 like they did before, they're going to find themselves with a great chance of being able to take the round, and with it, they would get 3 of the 6 rounds in the first half.
Yeah. I mean, so far the story has been, does Team 1 clear out a roamer? Then they're probably going to take it. Or does Team 1 have a site contact that they can exploit to win the round? Like, are they able to just get directly in, like we saw with that pincer move? I loved that. Either way, been a mixed bag. 2-2 is a fair representation of how this match has been going. Downstairs clear for Team 1. KDS on the Ash. You can do some good work down here. He'll probably be tasked with getting the mute jammers on the wall so that that wall can be opened up by Lagonis. There's only one of them. They only really need to protect the 2 left panels anyway. You get that right, or for the defenders, the right wall. For the attackers, the left wall. You get that open, doesn't really matter. There goes the one most important mute jammer, and now the wall is free, basically. There are 3 impacts, technically, for Always and Dan, so maybe they're going to be able to impact trick, but neither of them are on site. They're rotating back now to do just that.
So good call. Obviously, you can say, oh, they're not on site. And then moments later, there they are. And this speaks, of course, to droning as well. And this is a perfectly good comparable. When we talk about how when you drone something out within seconds, that intel is no longer valid, well, same thing just applied with us calling. First bit of action, though, is KDS tussling with the mute of Scyther and ultimately missing out on that entirely. KDS gets finished off, though, as Dan is the one to be able to use those kill holes that were provided so kindly by Team 1, leaving Alimau downstairs. He's got a deceptive amount of kills, tied for the lead with KDS. KDS far less consistent. Alimo, obviously the highest performer on Team 1. You're going to need something big out of him here is now those impact tricks that you talked about coming out in full as the execute is targeted towards the master wall.
Ooh, big nade from Neskin. Down goes Dan, but he did manage to stop the wall from getting opened up. Neskin will also get Joystick, who gets aggressive by Master Door. Not the play there for Joystick, but he's just trying to get the man advantage. Nade goes deep inside of Astro, but fails to kill the defender therein. Shepard in a great position to delay the round despite no gas canisters being in play. Always will also even this out into a 3-on-3. Shepard's adds to it, and he's going to persist in this corner, supported by Always. Empire, a huge clutch holding on to Astro.
I hate to boil it down to a single thing, but those impacts onto the master wall ultimately allowed Empire to deprive Team 1 of the map control they wanted, force Team 1 to funnel in through 1 or 2 doorways, and it's significantly easier to just watch those positions. Obviously, it was a 4v4 when those impacts went off, and right there on your screen, you can see exactly what happened with that initial take. Now, Dan gets blown up. So you're on pretty favorable footing if you're Team 1 at this point, but without the wall being open, where do you go? You have to go through the master doorway or you have to go through the bathroom door. And because Astro Control was never taken by Team 1, you can sit in there if you're Empire with impunity, playing behind the desk, playing behind the boxes, and nobody's going to be able to pressure you unless you still have utility in hand, like grenades, any form of destruction, whether it be an Ash Charge, whether it be a Zophiel Lifeline, or stuns. There was none of that for Team 1. They spent a lot of time doing what they needed to do to clear out the map, but then they got absolutely dumbfounded by the impacts that went off on the wall. This is not really advanced stuff, and Team 1 did not have enough time nor gadgetry to get themselves out of that position.
The really crazy thing is, Parker, like, you could place those Selmas in ways that are hard to impact trick, like really hard. You could put it low on the floor, and it becomes, you know, it's still possible, but there's no guarantee if it's that low for the defenders. So, you know, there's options for Team 1, and it's unfortunate that it didn't go the way that Team 1 expected when they just tried to brute force it by throwing the Semmels on the wall. What we know is that despite that round going to Team Empire, it still easily could have been Team 1's. I mean, You said it yourself. It's hard to boil it down to one thing in a round, but what if that wall got opened up? What a difference it would have made. Less of a bottleneck. What a run out there from Always. No, he just punched the window. And he'll get a pick right off the cuff. Down goes Levy, and your EE1D will be silent for this round.
Haven't really seen a big game at a Levy so far, and that's been pretty brutal for a Lion player. The EE1Ds have not been particularly effective at pinning them down. I complimented him 2 rounds ago for the fact that he got one off before he died, but that puzzling army crawl to start round number 1, and then everything from that point onward. Not really hitting the mark in terms of gunplay. Impactless kills. The EE1D not helping Team 1 complete the objective. And of course, just having a Lion on the board does not mean that you get a free diffuser planted. It's nowhere near that simple. But for a good coordinated team, a Lion allows you to get into position, watch as the diffuser goes down, hold certain angles, and briefly reposition. Has not really been what we've seen out of Team 1 thus far. And obviously, starting off with a loss, giving up that first blood to Team Empire. Not ideal, especially when Empire now holds 3 of these 6 rounds and are looking to take the first half 4-2.
Big part of that is Always, who has so far 9 kills over 6 rounds. He could still get more in this one. KDS creeping on into towards main stairs. Now he is solo, and there's no one droning for him. So this is big risks. I think he can hear Dan. He could definitely hear Dan, so he can call that out for himself. But actually, look at this. Alamal's in sight. What is happening?
Oh my, he's managed to find his way in. A minute to go still, but he's not getting any targets, and he needs to find some proper prioritization, missing the shots onto the mute. All the while, KDS dies. Lagonis now trying to get in as best as he can over by Memorial. Even though they've got control, they don't. Empire does. They snap their fingers and wipe out Team 1 just like that. The first half goes in their favor, 4-2.
Honestly, Parker, I'm thinking to myself, as soon as Alamal gets that pick by Memorial and pushes into sight, full control, able to pivot to anything. Oh, Team 1 have this in the bag. And I guess my brain, I didn't say it out loud, I guess my brain must have cast or cursed them. So they fell apart as soon as they came into contact with Empire. Now we see a 4-2 half. Now, I will say 4-2 is not terrible for Team 1. Obviously, they lost the first half. This is a defender-sided map, though. It's not a huge deal. Team 1 can recover from this. And their attacks were okay. There were a couple of those rounds that Team 1 lost. I think could have gone a different way. That last one's a good example. That definitely could have been a Team 1 round had they played it a little bit differently. Now, on defense, Team 1 bringing a clash of all things. We've been seeing more clash play recently. I will say if I were to nominate a clash player on Team 1 right now, it would probably be Lagonis, but it's obviously not my decision who plays the operators. I mean, you know, call it like I see it.
I mean, I appreciate that. We've poked fun at teams before putting hot hands on shield operators. Julio, in particular, is an excellent shield main, as is Young when he still competed way back. But both of them are also capable of... Yeah, I mean, both of them are perfectly capable of hitting their shots. You know, nobody's going to bat an eye when Canadian's on a shield main.
I mean...
That was an insult, by the way.
Yeah, I can see you're trying to... That was an insult. They're friends, so he just does that.
I hit him when he was down.
Yeah, he just had his last last SI match earlier today, and Parker just wants to make him feel much worse. I saw somebody on Twitter refer to him as Eliminadian, and I thought that was very funny. I saw that one in Twitch chat.
I mean, I'm sure there's multiple people, Michael, who thought that. But anyway, yeah. Shield mains, obviously, depending on who you put them on. Yeah, I would agree. I don't necessarily agree with Ali Mao being as the Clash. You know, you're not going to put... If Joystick's dropping 12 kills and is just beating everybody in a gunfight, you're not throwing him on Monte. It's just not the way it's going to work. You're going to do that with somebody who's not exactly having the best matchup at this point. Maybe they're putting it on Ali Mao because they are not necessarily using the Clash solely to waste time. And maybe it's also because Ali Mao tends to be a bit more talkative. You know that as a good Clash, you need to be communicating with your team. That can be a possible justification of the role.
Yeah, it's definitely really important that you relay the information you're seeing. Neskin could get a freebie here as the rush in from Joystick's already on the stairs, but he's looking the wrong way, and the phone call gives Joystick the info! Great reaction to the phone call there. Dokkaebi coming in big from Dan, and Empire get the lead off as a result. That's huge.
Takes Neskin down from below. Any of the explosives that the Melusi might have had are also gone, and with it, insult to injury as the Banshee that was set up on the stairs, likely to assist Neskin in his spot, well, it gets removed by Joystick too. A 6th kill for the Russian fragger, who comes in with some of the best stats, if not the best stats, depending on how you determine it, in all of SI 2021. It sets up Empire into a 5v4, where they'll look to press into the site, but the clash is still up for Team 1.
The person who's not up is Levy on the floor, downed from below, I believe. Alimau gonna try and pick him up. Definitely very doable. Levy getting back into action is huge because he's got those yokai drones. He can deny a plant attempt. As we start getting lower and lower in time, that is gonna become more and more useful.
Oh man, and there's Dan to just make it keep getting from bad to worse for Team 1 now. Team Empire in full control. The start of this matchup looked like it was going to be a close one, but over the last couple rounds, Team Empire have been absolutely running away with it. And they've got command of this round too. Ooh. From below, they're going to put some pressure on. Alimau punished by Joystick. That was a joint effort, though, leaving KDS and Levy to try and hold off on the site. Are yokai drones still up? That's going to be a major question that needs to be answered. Doesn't matter if they are. Levy's dead. KDS now in a 1v5. Not a flawless round. He takes care of Joystick. Another for him, too, on to Dan. KDS will continue to play around it. Defuser goes down, though, and with a tiny piece of HP, this is going to be mighty, mighty tough. Continue to rack it up, though, as best as you can, because no matter what, it's not likely you're going to win. Team Empire end up putting KDS out of his misery, and another round goes for the Russian squad. They're up 5-2.
Very nice try there from KDS, but back against the wall, he really didn't have much of a chance. That first pick for Empire downstairs, here it is once again. Now, they say when you play telephone, you lose some information, but not so between Joystick and Dan there. Great communication indirectly, but still great communication. Joystick's first pick onto the roamer underneath really set the tone for the round. And it's especially egregious for Team 1 because it was supposed to go the other way. If Neskin just goes a little bit further, he sees Joystick who's looking the wrong way, and it's a freebie for Team 1. Very different story as the round plays out from there. But that's just not what happened. You know, hindsight's 2020. It's a 5-2 scoreline now for Team Empire. And they're looking like, as Parker mentioned, they're looking like they are going to walk away with this run as Team 1 have yet to win a defense going into round 8.
Well, I mean, there's good reason why Empire might have hid this map for SI, and it turns out that they're not a bad team on it by any stretch. This is Team 1's map, need I remind everybody. Conventional wisdom suggests that when you pick the map, you should probably win it, especially at this level of competition. It's not like a Team Empire smurfing in the Russian Grand Finals, playing up against another Tier 3, Tier 4 team. Obviously, providing Virtus Pro isn't there because they're another Russian team and they're Tier 1, of course. But just let's say for the sake of my argument that they don't.
Back in the day when they, yeah.
You know, we're not talking about you running through a bunch of amateurs here. These are two of the best teams in the world. The best of the best are represented at SI right now. Team 1 have continuously proved their worth. They have beaten outstandingly strong teams to get to this point. When they pick Villa, it should be almost a certainty that they are, if not winning it, very competitive. That's absolutely not the case right now, as it's been Empire just dominating them, and you can see from the scoreline that it tells a pretty good story, as do the kills on either side of your screen.
So I just really want to touch on that drone just briefly. That drone right there is a good example of how you could save time, and you could still see it actually inside of Astro calling out the roamers, and that's why Team Empire are going to be so quick on this roam clear, and it's why they're going to get picks like that. I know this is on another part of the map, but it's because Joystick knows what's clear and what's not because of those well pre-placed drones. Team 1 already on the back foot, and we're only just now hitting the last 120 seconds.
Historically, Alimau's been their best performer in this event and is one of the brightest spots in all of Brazil. You know, I think you can quantify that SSG versus Team 1 matchup earlier today as a passing of the torch, but unfortunately, it looks like the fire on that torch has gone out in this matchup. Neskin's next one to go down for Team 1 as Empire are just bulldozing their way in. A 5v2? That clock is not lying to you. There is indeed almost 2 full minutes left, and KDS finds himself in as a one-man army at this point. Now, he wasn't good enough for 2 kills in the previous round, but he's got all of Empire in front of him. Guess what? Same position previously. He managed to stop a Flawless in its tracks by picking up 2 kills. His position, though, at the top of the stairs has been given away, so even a single kill here would be an accomplishment. He gets it, but refragged by a grenade, tossed out by Always. It's match point on Villa for Empire.
And this one's not even looking close, Parker. I mean, it did look close for a while. First 4 rounds, a little bit of back and forth. And we were even talking about how, oh, we got ourselves a ball game. 6-2, though, and still a few rounds into the second half, no defensive wins for Team 1. And on top of that, very nearly 2 flawless rounds. Obviously denied, both of them denied by KDS, but still, like, that goes a long way in kind of setting the tone for the match. And now, Team 1, obviously going to be scratching their heads at this point. They're going to go to Trophy Statuary, try and figure that out, see if they can make something work there. Roam clear was great from Team Empire. They didn't lose a single fight. They were ruthless in pursuing the roamers from Team 1, of which there were many. Those pre-placed drones were great. Every time Empire lined up a kill, they knocked it down perfectly. It's good siege.
Been a tough matchup for these Team 1 fans, of which they are loud and proud, as they should be. It's not just Team 1 fans that are cheering for this, obviously. We get into these regional conflicts, too. And I mean, right now, Brazil has every reason to be proud of how they have played so far at the Six Invitational. It seems like almost every single event we go to, we talk about how this is Brazil's year. And then, despite that, out of all the events that we've had over the last 5 years, Brazil has been able to play in international events. The only victory they have was Team Liquid winning the Pro League Finals in Season 7 in Atlantic City. That's it. Now, they might have their best shot right now at this Six Invitational. They came very close last SI. And, well, you've got the upper bracket finals of MIBR versus NIP. For this matchup, I think we came in with very high expectations of Team 1. And the disappointing performance that they've had so far on their map of Villa does not bode well for Clubhouse nor Oregon, which are up next.
Yeah, you're definitely right, Parker. Clubhouse being Empire's pick, and we know how good they are on Clubhouse. It's daunting for Team 1 at this point. I'd love for them to surprise us, though. It would be absolutely positively perfect right now if Team 1 just started changing what's happening and, you know, gave us the perfect defenses 4 rounds in a row. We get to overtime, things get a little more exciting. Right now, though, on that challenge, KDS versus Always, well, that's a difficult challenge to make. There is a better angle he could achieve if he actually vaulted on those boxes. Probably win that fight that way, but he's trying to do it from the floor. This is much more difficult. I don't know if he knows about the angle. Yeah, regardless, still no pick for either team. One thing we can say is that Dokkaebi from Empire has been much more efficient than the Lion from Team 1, and it assists Joystick once again in getting the early kill.
This is not ideal. These opening draws going in favor of Empire time and time again is just halting Team 1's potential, and Lagonis has yet to find a single kill, and if Empire continues, Lagonis might not find one for the entire match. Good news for him and the rest of his team. Well, they seem to be in on it. They understand. Always, he's down. So is Dan. This is eminently winnable for Team 1, but Joystick just does Joystick things. Breaks double digits with that kill on Deneskin. 3v3, 1 minute to go. Map on the line for Team 1 at this current point. They're going to sit pretty and just wait. Empire are the ones on attack. They have to bring the fight to them. That's fine. You have plenty of time to be able to pull this one off. You've still also got a Maestro in play. You know what damage and Alda can do. Mao's going to take back the site, or at least try, but he gets spotted! Oh my, almost a 2-piece for Shepard, leaving Levy to try and clutch out. He knows that Ali Mao is unretrievable, and Scyther will end the pain for Team 1. 7-2 as the Russians absolutely wallop the Brazilians, and that's map 1 in the books.
That's free real estate, Parker. Shepard just waltzed into Astro, said, "This is mine now." And clearly, no one on Team 1 knew. Kind of embarrassing for Team 1. Also, just a show of proficiency for Team Empire, as they probably had a drone in there, maybe on the Astro telescope, for example. They would have been able to call it was free. Well, Team Empire leveraged that to recover from what